Saaib, good morning, sir.
Good morning to you, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you disappointed?
In a way, yes, because, to reward Netanyahu now and to have Netanyahu come out and say to Palestinians, look, peace is only made with the strong. Peace is only made with the powerful. You can't make peace while you are weak. So he is telling every Palestinian, get strong. Use violence.
Yeah,
Sometimes in history of nations, when you have politicians like your prime minister, who thinks of only scoring points and looking at your clock, 8 or 9 o'clock news in the evening, this is disastrous.
But Mr. Arikad, scoring this kind of points is not that bad. I mean, there is no bad time for peace. Peace is always welcome.
What peace? Is Netanyahu talking about peace when he tells the Emiratis that I made peace with you without giving an inch of land, without stopping settlements?
But that's not Mr. Netanyahu's problem. That's probably your problem, that the Emiratis agreed to sign an agreement with Israelis without having any kind of advancement in the relationship with the Palestinians.
You're absolutely right. My problem is that the Emiratis have budged to the pressure of Kushner and Trump and believed that these people can help them regionally against Iran. And then the sellout was at my expense. See, this, in my opinion, what the Emiratis and the Americans and the Israelis did this time is a killer for the two-state solution. And I looked at two things. One, the article of Kushner in the Washington Post, where he did not mention the word Palestinians. And then the statements of Mr. Netanyahu telling the world that we are the powerful and you need to have power to make peace and not 1 inch.
But that's true, Mr. Arikad. That's probably true in this area, in this region, in this neighborhood. You have to be strong. When you have Iran around you, when you have Hezbollah and Hamas, a country, especially Israel, has to be strong in order to survive, in order to make peace with other countries. And maybe the problem, Mr. Arikad, is that you lost connection to reality. You forget that there are other countries that have much more interest than the Palestinians.
Okay, if you say that you must be strong in this region and you must be powerful and you must have arms, that's what Hamas is saying. I am saying I want to make peace with you through negotiations, void of violence, because we're going to have to live as neighbors. We recognized you, and so on. And look at your logic. Look, the arrogance and ignorance of history is the classical recipe for bloodshed between people. If the Emirates is an independent, sovereign country, they could have stood tall and said, okay, our interests are served by having relations with Israel. Okay, but to say that we did this for the Palestinians while they have destroyed our basic line of telling the Israelis that once you have peace with us based on the two-state solution, you can have peace with all Arabs. Secondly speaking, if Israel one day will have 193 embassies in Tel Aviv, what difference does it make to me? Your problem is with me. I'm here.
You're right, Mr. Arikad, but perhaps your Pavlovian response to what has happened last week is the problem. Because instead of saying, you know what, that's a good start, going and signing agreements, peace agreements are a good start for us too. Maybe we should change our narrative. Maybe we should say we are going back to the table. The annexation is off the table. You should congratulate the Americans for that.
Your prime minister is telling me the opposite. Your prime minister and Kushner are telling me in their statements, read it. Just use your reading skills in the Washington Post and statement of... They're telling me you are no longer relevant as a Palestinian. We're going to make peace with all Arab countries and we're going to continue your occupation.
But I'm going back, Mr. Arikad, I'm going back. I understand your frustration, but Mr. Arikad, just 1 second. Sir, 1 second. I would like to explain my thesis. And I know that you are angry, and I even understand what you are saying, but I do not understand why there is no one in the Palestinian leadership, especially you, that you are an open-minded gentleman who knows how the world plays. And if you see Arab nations going on and signing agreements with the Israelis, maybe you should wake up one morning and say, maybe, perhaps, we are doing something wrong. we are not going on the right path. We should change our ways. You are not doing that.
Sir, we're the ones who drafted the Arab Peace Initiative. We're the ones who told the Israelis that once you have peace with us, once you end the occupation, once we have two states in 67, all Arab nations will make peace with you and recognize with you. Netanyahu said, no, that's not the way. I'm going to bring all the Arab countries by means of hook or crook to make peace with me while I'll continue the occupation, the settlements, the dictation. And he said yesterday, annexation is on the table. I will extend my sovereignty.
Okay, he said that, but you know Israeli politics. He has to say that because he has a political base and he has to tell them this story of annexation. But the fact is that annexation is, at this moment, is dead. It was supposed to be on the 1st of July. It didn't happen. Now we are almost at the 1st of September. And instead of annexation, you have a peace agreement that delays the annexation, may perhaps erases it totally from the table, and you are still talking about what Netanyahu says to his political base? Come on.
Look, I'm not, the Emirates did not have two legions, military legions fighting with me against you in Jericho or Hebron or Gaza that they withdraw and leave me alone. And I don't have a million Arabs and Muslims waiting at the Jordan River, waiting to come liberate me. I am the one who recognized Israel. I recognize you. I want to live side by side. I want to do it peacefully. I want to negotiate with you. You don't know, you know the facts, and yet you try to twist it. You Israelis have developed these techniques of ignoring facts mean they don't exist. It was Netanyahu who stopped the negotiations. I listened to Trump Netanyahu plan on TV like you did. It's my future. They didn't even bother to consult me.
It's our future, sir. It's our future. You are not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere, so it's our future.
If it's our future, why couldn't I've been consulted with my future? So Netanyahu is telling me, I'm going to dictate on you. From the River Jordan to the Mediterranean, it's the Jewish homeland. From the River Jordan to the Mediterranean, I have the over-security riding responsibility. From the River Jordan to the Mediterranean, I'm going to be it, and you're going to live in enclaves. To hell with him. I'm 50.9% of the population today from Jericho to Tel Aviv. Netanyahu and Kushner are 49.1% of the population. If they think bringing the Emiratis or others to have embassies in Tel Aviv, they have two big embassies in Tel Aviv with the Arabs, Egypt and Jordan. Did this bring you closer to peace? You need to solve your problem with me. And that's what aches my heart, is the petty politicians who try to sell out such relations and so on at the expense of the real peace. They're ignoring the real fact that you have no war between you and the Emiratis. You have no conflict between you and the Emiratis. The problem is you and the Palestinians, Israelis and Palestinians. And if we don't help ourselves to solve the problem by ending the occupation, by living as neighbors, each in his own state, on the 67 borders, what are you talking about?
But perhaps there is a psychological level in all of this. And the feeling of Israelis that they want to be loved by the region. We want to be accepted here in this region. And by having this peace agreement with the Emirates and maybe with Bahrain and Oman, maybe it's going to change our attitude towards the Palestinian issue. But I would like to ask you one last question. Would you tell, or do you want to tell the Bahrainis and all the others in the region, in the Gulf, not to sign any agreements with the Israelis till the Palestinian issue is not resolved?
Number one, if you want to be loved by your wife or your girlfriend, you bring her flower, you be nice.
Wife.
Wife, sorry for your wife. You bring her flower, you be nice, you don't be mean, okay? You don't beat her. You don't be scum, you don't twist facts, you be honest. That's the truth. If you want to be loved, that's the behavior of people who love each other and who want to love each other. As far as the Arab countries is concerned, sir, we have a contract called the Arab Peace Initiative. They said, Palestine, by the way, have recognized the state of Israel. We recognize the state of Israel in the 1967 borders, exactly like Egypt and Jordan. And then we agreed with the Arabs. It was a Saudi proposal, by the way, an Emirati proposal, a Bahraini proposal, a Omani proposal. That's called the Arab Peace Initiative. They said we will make relations with Israel and normalize once they end the occupation and establish a Palestinian state. That's the truth. And that's the basis of things. Now what Netanyahu is doing, he wants to prove to us as Palestinians, okay, you will not have a Palestinian state. You will not be independent. You're going to live in enclaves. And peace is only for the strong. He's sending the wrong damn message to Palestinians. That's what I worry about. And by the way, if you look at the Emirati-Israeli-American agreement, who is weakened and who's strengthened?
By the way, you are translating the word strong into military strength, into violence, right? This is what you are saying.
Netanyahu defined strength to be.
Strength has to be and can be also economical strength, or intellectual strength, or democratic strength, and military strength too, but you don't have to use it.
I use the intellectual strength. I use the economic strength. I use the logical strength. I use the law strength. But Netanyahu, you know what he's talking about. But what I want to say, if you want to look today, and let's be honest with each other, who is weakened by this step? It's people like me, people who want peace, democracy, void of violence, reaching agreement, two-state solution. Who are the winners today in the region? Extremists on your side, as Netanyahu is saying and selling, and also Iran, and also the extremists on our side. And when they call it the Abraham Agreement, Abraham what? Abraham Agreement are we in a religious conflict? I've said so many times, sir, that Judaism is one of God's great religion. My conflict with Israel is not a religious one. I don't fight the Israelis because something is in their holy book. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are God's religion. Our conflict is over territory, narrative, politics. You don't like what I say, I don't like what you say, that's fine. But they turn this conflict into a religious one that is playing music in the ears of all Arab and Muslims extremists. And that's when you lack strategy. That's what happens to us. You're subjecting us, Netanyahu is subjecting us, because he wants to look good at the 10 o'clock news and the polls to turn this conflict into a religious one, and that will be disaster on you and your wife, and me and my beloved wife.
Mr. Arikat, we'll have to sit down around the table one day after Corona and talk like 5 hours. Just maybe we will clear this up. One day, inshallah. Good to see you. Bye-bye. Thank you.